Hey, what's wrong with you? You're looking kinda down to me. Things ain't getting over, yeah. Listen to what I say. Got to turn around. Got to turn around. Hey, 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 hey. All right, sorry. Just a little bit of music to break the ice. So welcome to Catch Me Inside. I am MJ, your host, and I hope that you learned something from this experience. This particular video has taken me like 2 months and 67 tries. I swear to God. But we're here now. Today we are discussing a topic that is very much dear to my heart. As you can see, I got the Sade t-shirt on. Could have probably styled it a little bit more, but who has the time? Today's theme is the evolution of black music in the UK. Originally, it was just going to be on UK music, what the scene is like now today. But then I was like to myself, how did we even get here? What was happening in the 80s? What was happening in the 70s? What was happening in the 60s? And I was going back and back and back. And eventually I was like, you know what? I need to show the world the people that I've discovered when I went off on this tangent. Pivotal pioneers, that have made the UK scene what it is today. The fact that we are in this melting pot of cultures. We've got Jamaicans, we've got Trinidadians, we've got Guyaneses, we've got St. Lucians, we've got Ghanaians, you've got Angolans, you've got Nigerians, you've got South Africans, Zimbabweans, like everyone from everywhere you can find. And it's one of the things that I really love, especially how it translates into culture. It's just so rich and it's so diverse. It's just something that I've always really admired and I really appreciate. So I really wanted to do a video on like the evolution of UK R&B and just literally pay homage to some of the pioneers that if it was not for them, would the scene be how it is right now? So I went a bit backwards and I found that actually the earliest recorded black musician in the UK was as early as 1500s. So we're talking like Henry VIII, Tudor times. At the time, it was quite fashionable. It was very much on trend for like wealthy British people to actually have black performers. His name was John Blank and he was a royal trumpeter in the courts of Henry VII and Henry VIII. His image is actually immortalized in the Westminster Tournament Roll of 1511. He's a powerful reminder of the presence of black people in the UK at that time. Fast forward to the late 18th century and we meet Joseph Emedy, a violinist and a composer, and he was born around 1775. In fact, he was actually kidnapped from West Africa, taken to Portugal as a slave, and then he used to play the violin on their ships, their warships or whatever. At some point, they were like, yeah, well, you've played your way to freedom, sir. And then they just left him on the shores of Cornwall, where he basically turned himself into a superstar. I'm not even joking. Like, this man became renowned in Cornwall. He became the leader of the Truro Philharmonic Orchestra. And everyone was like, yo, this black boy can play. And then around the same time, we had George Bridgetower, who was a violin prodigy. And at 10 years old, he was already performing in royal courts. He became a favorite of Beethoven. In fact, him and Beethoven were boys. Apparently, he Beethoven's girl, and then Beethoven found out and he was like, rah, that's how you do me. And then he basically cut him out of any music that they ever recorded, any song title that he named after him. He was like, yeah, that's dead, we're done. And then finally, Samuel Coleridge Taylor, who actually is probably one of my favorite people that I read about, only because he existed in a time, I think, where black people started to pipe up about their rights. Now, he was a composer of Sierra Leonean descent. He was known as the African Mauler. But despite all of this, he still faced significant financial struggles because unlike his fellow white composers, he was not getting paid for his royalties at all. But he did really fight for black musicians' rights, and he eventually influenced the Harlem Renaissance in the USA. So he was like a true pioneer. These 4 people that I've mentioned here were like the OGs, the original black musicians that were, representing black artistry. So that was like ancient times, ye old olden day. Moving forward a little bit to like the early of 20th century, that's when we really see jazz taking over in the UK. Now, jazz was very much an American import. The Southern Syncopated Orchestra was formed in 1919 by visionary Will Marion Cook, who's a jazz musician in himself. Originally, it was called the New York Syncopated Orchestra, but he brought it over here in hopes to bring the jazz. It was an all-black jazz ensemble. In fact, I think it was the first time that British people heard jazz music, and their impact was absolutely massive. They performed all over the UK, but they did one show in Glasgow that drew in about 328,000 people. That's crazy. And one thing that I actually respect, I think because it was an all-black jazz band, they were able to like choose what they wanted to play, where they wanted to play. And previous to this, it was more like, this is what you gotta pay, this is what the audience is listening to. I don't give a damn what your black ass wants to play. You gonna play this shit and we're not gonna pay you for it. But unfortunately for the Syncopated Orchestra, tragedy did strike in 1921 when the orchestra was caught in a shipwreck and it claimed 36 lives. Damn. But despite this devastating loss, the Syncopated Southern Orchestra really did leave a mark, and jazz was here to stay. Ken Snakeships Johnson, who was a charismatic dancer and band leader who brought the jazz to the British mainstream with his smooth and sharp style, he actually became a cultural icon. My man could dance. He was just a performer. Like, I get it. I 100% get it. At that time, I probably would have been a massive fan of him too. Like, oh, honey, let's go to the jazz club. I don't know why I'd be posh, but... And then there was Evelyn Dove, who was breaking barriers as a black woman in entertainment. She eventually ended up performing across Europe, across the US, and in 1939, she made history as the first woman of African descent to be broadcast live on the BBC. Like, come on. So I guess the BBC have always kind of been like, yeah, progressive, maybe. In terms of this jazz movement, Soho was definitely like the beating heart of jazz. Hotspots like the Florence Mill Social Parlour, Shim Sham and the Nest, where people would get together, jam, listen to music, eat great Caribbean food, and discuss political, socio-economic issues. But unfortunately, wartime Britain brought both triumph and tragedy. And on March the 8th, 1941, while performing at Café de Paris, Ken Snakeship Johnson and his saxophonist, Bubba Williams, were killed in a German bombing. It was just a time that was like full of tragedy and optimism at the same time. It's really weird. Now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if the ship's sinking and the bomb... Sorry, it's the conspiracy theorist in me that's coming out now. But I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, the government were like, yeah, these Negroes are having way too much fun. Shut it down. But yeah, these are the pioneers of black artistry in the UK. But I say all that to get onto my main point, because what I really want to talk to y'all about, yeah, is the Caribbean influence. Like, when the Caribbeans came to this country, that is when ish got popping. I'm telling you, they brought the vibe, they brought the soul, they brought the calypso, the reggae, the ska, they brought their steel pans, they brought their jerk chicken, they brought the ackee and saltfish, they brought the proper mac and cheese. And for that, honestly, we have to be grateful. If you went to school in London or any kind of multicultural city, I'm sure, I can only assume, yeah, you must have grown up with the Nigerian versus Caribbean debate. There's even some of us Africans, yeah, that used to beg being Jamaican or used to beg being from the Caribbean. I don't know, was I ever one of those people? I don't think so. But now I'm thinking about it, I could have told someone I was Jamaican. It's highly possible, you know. Anyway, I say all that to say that, like, as an adult, as I'm sitting here in front of you right now, I must have to say, yeah, listen, we need to give homage where homage is due. And the homage is due to the Caribbeans, because what they brought to this country forever changed the landscape of music. And I'm not saying black music, I'm saying music in general in the UK. That's it. And you can go argue with your mother. When the Windrush docked at Tilbury, it came with more than just passengers. It carried calypso, steel pan, reggae, and a spirit of resilience. Mona Baptiste, she was a talented singer and saxophonist from Trinidad, and she was one of the first to put this new era on the map. And eventually she'd go on to become like an international star. She worked in the UK, she worked in America, and eventually she settled in Germany and became a massive star over there. It was the Calypsonians around this era who really made Britain listen. For example, Lord Beginner, and then you had Lord Kitchener, who was literally on the boat singing about how London is the place for me, which shows his optimism about coming to this country and starting a new life and helping rebuild the country. Lord Woodbine, who is said to have mentored the Beatles. You know, I read somewhere that he's the one who told the Beatles to go and get a drummer. It's like, yeah, where's the beat? Like, this music has no backbone. So if it wasn't for Lord Woodbine, would we even have the Beatles? Would there be a Ringo Starr? Think about it. Genres like ragtime and boogie woogie were also starting to take hold of the British as well. Winifred Atwell was a Trinidadian pianist, and she really shook up the UK charts with her ragtime and boogie woogie hits. In 1954, she became the first black artist to top the UK charts with Let's Have Another Party. And listen, my girl was wicked. The vibes is not the only thing that the Caribbeans brought with them. They also brought sound systems. And I just want to say that sound systems is a very big deal in terms of the revolution of music in the UK. It completely turned things upside down. And sound systems originated in Jamaica. And a sound system is basically a group of DJs, engineers, and MCs playing ska, rocksteady, and reggae music. It's a very important point to remember because at the time, Britain had just won the war. But unfortunately, a lot of British men had died in the war. So they needed a workforce of like strong, able people, men and women, to be able to come back over into the UK, not just London, and like help rebuild the country. They didn't expect to get here and then face the kind of discrimination that they faced. So when they got here, they wanted to go to bars and pubs and clubs, you know, just continue like living like a human being. But unfortunately, they were faced with crazy racism, crazy discrimination. They were ostracized from communities, segregated from community. Think no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. But luckily for them, they brought over their sound systems and then they created their own spaces. And one of the biggest race riots to have happened was the Notting Hill race riots in 1958. And I just link it in with the sound systems a little bit because later on that year, there was a lady called Claudia Jones and she was just like, enough is enough. And she organised the first Notting Hill Carnival in 1959. It happened indoors, but it was just a place where the Caribbeans could come, celebrate their music, their dance and their culture in a safe environment. And that was the birth of Notting Hill Carnival. It was indoors for the first few years and then later on it would kind of like spew into the streets and become this massive festival that we all know and love. Well, most of us know it and love to this day. And I'm such a like supporter of Carnival because of the history, because it arrives from oppression and racial injustice. And I love the fact that it's big, it's attended by millions of people every year. It's just a space to be unapologetically black and cultured on the streets of London. Like any kind of black sounds that originated or that have come from the UK, you can find it in Carnival. Yeah. And that to me makes it a very significant part of the evolution of black music in the UK. And that was Carnival. Great. As the 1960s arrived, a new wave of sound from Jamaica arrived and took hold in Britain, and it was called ska. Just remember that the originators of ska music, Prince Buster, Laurel Aitken, who was a Cuban singer and is often referred to as the pioneer of ska music, Duke Reed, Stranger Cole, Clement Coxon Dodd. So these are people that really pioneered the sound of ska, and it kind of got the UK ready for what was about to explode, and that was reggae music. By the late 1960s, reggae had arrived. There was Trojan Records, and it introduced the British audience to people like Desmond Dekker and Jimmy Cliff. And in 1969, Dekker made history with Israelites, the first Jamaican song to hit #1 on the UK charts. And remember, at the time, like reggae wasn't just about like dancing and vibes in. It was actually like a vehicle for political change. Bands like Steel Pulse and Aswad used their music to challenge racism and inequality, while people like Linton Kwesi Johnson pioneered dub poetry, which essentially is like fusing spoken word with reggae beats to speak truth to power. I wanted to kind of kick off with the Caribbean influence because in the UK, I feel like you can find a vein of that era in all types of musical styles, from pop to drill, whatever it may be. I feel like there is some element of that Caribbean influence in Black British music to this day. But obviously this is an R&B podcast and we've come here to talk about R&B soul music. The 1960s and 1970s is where Black British artists began fusing Caribbean rhythms with American R&B, creating a new sound called British soul. It was smooth, it was heartfelt, and it was distinctly British. And while soul was making waves in the mainstream, it was another genre brewing underground, and that would become the soundtrack to Black British love and resilience. It was called Lovers Rock, but that I'm going to get onto. Let's kick it off with the Foundations. In 1967, the Foundations made history as one of the first multicultural bands in the UK to break into the mainstream. Their hit, Baby Now That I Found You, reached #1 on the UK charts, making them the first British group to achieve this milestone. They followed up with Build Me Up Buttercup in 1968, which became a global hit, reaching the top 10 in both the UK and the US, and their success paved the way for other British soul groups to follow. Now, next up, I need to talk about this guy that I only discovered, I'm not gonna lie to you, I only discovered when I started researching this show. His name is Gino Washington, and he played with the Ram Jam band, and my gosh, this guy was electrifying. Now, Gino Washington is an American soul singer, and he was stationed in the UK with the US Air Force. But after being discharged, he just never left. He was just like, I like it better here. And he became a live music sensation. And he performed with his band, and they absolutely dominated the club scene. In 1971, his live album, Hand Clapping, Foot Stamping, Funky Butt, Live, was a massive success, making him one of the most in-demand soul performers in the UK. Another singer that I found while doing my research as well has got me completely hooked. I'm talking about Jimmy Jones and the Vagabonds. They are a Jamaican-born soul group, and they brought their unique blend of reggae and R&B. They found success with Now Is the Time, released in 1968, and I'll Go Where the Music Takes Me in 1976. That might be the intro for this video, you know, because facts, I'll really just go where the music takes me. The Real Thing were absolute game changers. Hailing from Liverpool, in 1976, The Real Thing became the first all-black British band to reach #1 on the UK charts with You Are My Everything. Their success wasn't just local though. It became a global hit, charting in Europe and in America. And the group followed up with Can't Get By Without You and Can You Feel the Force, both of which became like disco funk anthems. We got Sweet Sensation. Oh, listen, Sweet Sensation. Yeah. On their song, Sure Thing, Yes I Do. Sure Thing, Yes I Do. Oh, giving me Jackson 5 vibes, I swear to God. They hailed from Manchester. They became the first Black British band to win ITV's New Faces talent competition, and that's what led them to a recording deal. And in 1974, their single Sweet Sad Dreamer became a UK #1 hit, cementing their place in British soul history. And then you have Delegation. Delegation in 1977 released Oh Honey, and it was a smooth soul funk classic, and it topped the R&B charts in America and became literally a global hit. Listen to their debut album, The Promise of Love, and I fell in love. Now, while British soul was dominating the mainstream, a new sound was growing in London's underground scene: Lovers Rock. Lovers Rock was a UK-born genre, and it blended the deep bass lines of reggae with the smooth melodies of American soul. And it all started with a 14-year-old girl, Louisa Mark. But in 1975, Louisa Mark recorded Caught You in a Lie, introducing the world to Lovers Rock. The song became an instant classic. And then in 1979, Janet Kay became the first Lovers Rock chart topper, when Silly Games became the first Lovers Rock song to reach the UK top 10 and became an absolute anthem. And to this day, its high falsetto chorus is instantly recognizable. Then we have Carol Thomas, who was the queen of Lovers Rock. She became a leading figure in the genre and was known for her soulful voice and hits like I'm So Sorry and Hopelessly in Love. Lovers Rock thrived on pirate radio, inspiring a new wave of UK artists. Even to this day, its legacy lives on. In 2020, Steve McQueen's film Lovers Rock paid tribute to the era, capturing the energy, the intimacy, and the significance of the scene at the time. By the early 1980s, British black artists were blending R&B, funk, and jazz, creating this new, vibrant, fresh sound. Loose Ends. In 1985, Loose Ends became the first black British band to top the US R&B charts with their hit Hanging on a String. Their success wasn't just national, it was global. They followed up with Slow Down and Stay a Little Wild Child, solidifying their place as UK R&B pioneers. And then you've got Lynx. Led by David Grant, Lynx brought a unique jazz funk sound to UK soul. Their 1981 hit Intuition broke the top 10, making them one of the first black British funk bands to achieve mainstream success. And then you've got Central Line. So Central Line scored a hit with Walking Into Sunshine, which became an underground club anthem in both the UK and the US. And then, of course, Smooth Operator. Smooth Operator. Sade was the queen of sophisticated soul. Now, not only is she of Nigerian heritage, which is probably where she gets her source from, but she became one of the biggest British music exports of all time. Her sultry vocals and smooth jazz-infused soul, she took UK R&B to a whole new height. Let's be clear though, because I'm saying she. Sade is a band, right? And she's obviously the face of the band. But her 1984 debut album, Diamond Life, became one of the most iconic albums of the time. Songs like Smooth Operator, one of the most iconic songs of the era. You've got Your Love Is King, which was a UK top 10 hit, and Hang On To Your Love, which was a US R&B success. Sade became a global icon, winning Grammy Awards and selling over 75 million records worldwide. Even to this day, people are still obsessed with Sade. You even get Sade being sampled in songs across all types of genre. Even 2025 as we're speaking, Rima, a Nigerian Afrobeat artist, has sampled Sade's song Is It a Crime in his latest song. And then in the late 80s, a group changed everything. Soul to Soul were the soundtrack of a generation. Soul to Soul blended soul, reggae and hip hop beats, creating an entirely new sound. Keep on moving, keep on moving, keep on, come on, there was just a vibe. Keep On Moving was a UK top 10 hit and a US top 5 hit. And then Back to Life, their biggest song, this is a song that I sing every time I get off an airplane. Released in 1989, was a UK number 1 hit and a US number 4 hit. Even won a Grammy Award. Their album, Club Classics Volume 1, sold over 4 million copies, making them global pioneers of modern R&B. As well as their Afrocentric style, streetwear aesthetics and deep bass lines, Soul to Soul defined black British cool in the late 80s and early 90s. So as the 1990s arrived, black British women took center stage. People like Mika Paris, who is known as a UK soul powerhouse. Her 1988 debut album, So Good, featuring My One Temptation, was a UK top 10 hit. She became one of the leading voices of British soul, performing with Prince, Shaka Khan and James Brown. Then you've got Gabrielle with Dreams in 1993, which was a number 1 hit and launched her career. Then you've got Desiree with her 1994 hit, You Gotta Be. And to this day, it's still a motivational album. But then, of course, Miss Beverly Knight. We cannot talk about UK black female singers and not mention the UK's R&B queen, Miss Beverly Knight. Known for songs like Flavor of the Old School in 1995. My favorite song from Beverly Knight is Shoulda, Woulda, Coulda means I'm out of time. Shoulda, woulda, coulda means I change your mind, and now I'm done. What I'm gonna do? Shoulda, woulda, coulda is the last words of a fool. Yeah, that's how I sing. It wasn't just the women, that were doing bits. We had people like Omar, who was a pioneer of UK soul with his song, There's Nothing Like These. But the biggest man of this generation, I don't care what nobody says, Mark Morrison. I was even having a discussion with my brother the other day. This song came out when he was born, 1996. It's a global smash. Even to this day, the song goes off. It was an anthem in every single hall party. Return of the Mac would get paid, and we would all stand up and start doing the bogle like this. Return of the Mac, come again, return of the Mac. But you know what? To be honest, Mark Morrison's discography is actually crazy. The man had hits, but this song I think was his biggest hit, and it really took UK R&B international. Can I just say, we also had bands as well. We don't have SWV level band, but we do have some dope bands, i.e. Eternal, Honeys. Listen, do you know what I just got? I actually look at my wall, please. Look at the influence of UK R&B, please, because who have I got? Eternal, Jamelia, Children of Zeus, who are very recent. We'll get into that though. All Saints, Estelle, Craig David, Gabrielle, Beverly Knight. Come on, don't play with me. Do not play with me when it comes to Lamar. When it comes to UK music, I'm involved. But while UK soul and R&B were flourishing, another movement was also rising, influenced by Jamaican dub, reggae toasting, and American hip hop. The UK was about to birth its own rap culture. While the early scenes in the UK mirrored New York rap, it didn't take long for British MCs to carve out their own identity. And this particular movement was led by Rodney P and the London Posse. Rodney P, Bionic, DJ Business, and Cypher changed that. Mixing hip-hop beats with reggae bass lines and London slang, their 1988 debut album, Gangster Chronicle, became a blueprint for UK hip-hop. Rodney P later became known as the godfather of UK rap and influenced a generation of MCs. So as UK rap evolved, different styles emerged. So you've got Hijack and Silver Bullet, which were more aggressive, high-speed delivery and politically charged rhymes. Cavemen and Outlaw Posse fused hip-hop with jazz, echoing A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul. But emerging in the late 90s, we've got Roots Maneuver, who introduced a sound that was uniquely British, fusing rap with dub, reggae and electronic beats. His 1999 track Witness became an anthem, marking him as a true UK rap pioneer. But despite the talent, UK rap struggled to break through. The lack of US distribution and the high clearance costs for sampling made it difficult for UK hip hop to gain international traction. And as a result, artists pivoted into other genres, leading to the birth of a new underground movement, jungle. By the early 90s, British club culture was changing. DJs and producers, many from Caribbean backgrounds, started experimenting with deep reggae bass lines and fast, chopped up breakbeats. The result? Jungle. Pioneers of the jungle scene like Rebel MC, aka Congo Natty, blended reggae and hip hop. And then you've got Shy FX. His track Original Nutter became a rave anthem, solidifying jungle's place in UK club culture. And then of course, one of the biggest artists, Goldie. In 1994, Goldie's Inner City Life introduced jungle to a wider audience. Timeless album became one of the most influential drum and bass records ever. But as jungle thrived, another genre was forming in the London clubs. One that was smoother, one that was sexier, and one that was made for the dance floor. I'm talking about, of course, UK Garage, aka UKG. It was the sound of the streets. By the mid-90s, UK Garage was taking over the club scene with its silky, two-step rhythms and infectious bass lines. The early Garage kings and queens included people like Tough Jam, Shanks and Bigfoot, Sweet Like Chocolate, hit #1 in the UK, and that's what brought Garage really into the mainstream. And then you've got Artful Dodger with Rewind featuring Craig David in 1999, which was a UK top 5 hit, and that is what helped to launch Craig David's career. But as Black British music grew, it needed a platform to celebrate its success. Enter the Mobos. In 1996, it was founded by Kanye King, and it was created to recognize hip-hop, R&B, reggae, grime, Afrobeats now, and garage. And the Mobos became the biggest awards for Black British talents. So Mobos stand for Music of Black Origin. The thing about the Mobos is that it doesn't just celebrate British artists as well. There's also a lot of international crossovers. For example, we've had performances by Lauryn Hill, Janet Jackson, Public Enemy, and it really brought global attention to the UK scene. I had to go off on that tangent because the Mobos is actually very important when we're talking about black music in the UK, because it's actually one of the only platforms at that time that actually was celebrating black music. Yes, I know, I look different. This is Edit MJ. I'm interjecting because I left out a very critical part of the bridge between garage and grime. There's no way you can talk about UK music, the evolution of black music in the UK, and So Solo Crew does not get a shout out, does not get a mention. Before grime, before UK drill, there was So Solo Crew. They were a collective from South London's Battersea, Brixton, Southwest London, and they fused garage, hip hop, and raw street energy to create a sound that would shake the industry. They were formed in the late 90s, and the crew started on pirate radio stations like Delight FM, where founding members Mega Man, G-Man, and Asher D sharpened their skills. But as their roster expanded, Lisa Mafia, Romeo, Harvey, Oxide and Neutrino, and even more, they joined the movement, each bringing their own style, each bringing their own energy. And then came 21 Seconds. 21 Seconds, 21 seconds, I got 21 seconds to say what I gotta say. You don't know me anyway, so that is here to stay. Okay, 21 Seconds was an absolute game changer. A high energy, rapid fire anthem where each member just had seconds to shine. What a concept. The song exploded, hitting #1 on the UK charts, proving that UK street music could own the mainstream. I mean, I feel like everyone's favorite verse on 21 Seconds is Romeo. 21 Seconds was an absolute banger, but by no means at all were they a one-hit wonder. They had tracks like They Don't Know, Haters, and Ride With Us. They really brought the sound of the estates to their airwaves, inspiring a whole generation of artists. If you think about it, So Solid Crew were not just a music group. They were the architects of Black British music that we hear today. They made it cool. They blended street with garage, with grime. And I'm sorry, but they were fly. So Solid Crew was fly. By the early 2000s, a raw, high-energy sound was developing in the streets of East London, and this was grime. A genre that fused garage, jungle, hip-hop and dancehall, and it was built on fast beats, sharp flows and DIY energy, to be honest. The pioneers, think Dizzy Rascal, Kano and Lethal Bizzle. They led the change, creating a distinctively British sound that captured the reality of urban life. Now, Dizzy Rascal was a game changer. His Boy in the Corner, released in 2003, was a masterpiece. It even earned him a Mercury Prize, proving that grime just wasn't an underground movement, it was literally the future. Another element that helped to catapult grime into the limelight, into the mainstream or to the masses, was its DIY nature. DVDs and pirate radio, think Lord of the Mics and Risky Roads. These documented clashes, freestyles, battles, and then you've got pirate radio stations like Rinse FM or Deja Vu that provided a platform when mainstream media just couldn't. Another important factor in this is grime's first TV platform, Channel U. Can we talk about Channel U? Because Channel U was an absolute game changer. Like before that, obviously we had like MTV Base and Kiss. There was a time really I would just sit there all day and just watch music videos. But Channel U was an absolute game changer because you couldn't really see people like us. You're talking about people from ends or like just normal black boys or girls on Channel U in their music videos. Channel U launched in 2003 and it became the first major TV platform from grime and UK rap, exposing underground artists to a national audience. Earlier on I mentioned Lethal Bizzle because what Lethal Bizzle did, was mind-blowing. Like Pow Forward, it was grime's first top 20 hit, but unfortunately it was banned from the clubs due to its association with violence. But F them, because we all know all the words. Like there's not a party that we can go to that drops Pow and people don't immediately jump up and start skanking. It's impossible. It's impossible. Grime is one of those genres that make me so proud to be British because it's like, it's so unique and distinct to us. So obviously other countries now have adopted grime and cool, but just remember it was a UK phenomenon. Am I right? I mentioned Dizzy Rascal, Lethal Bizzle and Kano. Cool, all pioneers, great stuff. But how can I sit here, do a segment on grime and not even utter the word Wiley, the godfather of grime, out of my mouth? Honestly, there's so many other people that I would love to talk about. Chip, Gets, but I cannot do this video without bigging up Wiley himself. Listen, before grime became a global movement, one man laid the foundation, Wiley. From the underground raves of East London to the top of the charts, he shaped UK music like no other. In 2001, he co-founded the Pay As You Go cartel, pushing UK garage to its limits with hits like Champagne Dance. But his true legacy is when he formed Roll Deep, a crew that introduced the world to grime heavyweights like Dizzy Rascal, Skepta and Tinchy Strider. Then came What Do You Call It, a defiant anthem marking grime's arrival. It wasn't garage, it wasn't rap, it was something entirely new. What you call it? What you call it? I don't care about garage. Who told you that I make garage? Jeez. Sorry. Underground classics like Avalanche, Igloo and Gangsters, mainstream success came with Wearing My Rolex. Wiley proved that grime could evolve and still dominate the charts. But Wiley's biggest impact was that he didn't just make hits, he made stars. Despite industry battles and public controversies, Wiley's legacy is untouchable. He didn't just create grime. Again, he made it a movement. Back to the early 2000s. As the millennium dawned, UK R&B was on the rise, producing chart-topping hits that merged garage, soul, and hip-hop influences. We are speaking about Craig David. His 2000 Born to Do It album was an absolute game changer as it blended UK garage and R&B into a sound that dominated both UK and international charts. Hits like Fill Me In and 7 Days made him an international superstar, inspiring a new wave of R&B talent. Now you've got Mystique. They were fronted by Alicia Dixon, Sabrina Washington, and Sue Elise Nash. Mystique fused garage, R&B, and dancehall, creating anthems like Scandalous and My One Night, Hands in Your Chest, Time to Dip, Temptations, Temptations, My One Night Stand. Hey, hey. Hey, big up, it's a one night stand. Hey, me come again, it's a one night. Sorry, I'll stop. Okay, and then we got Jamelia. Jamelia absolutely did her thing. Jamelia is such an icon to me, like, because when I was growing up, she was like this beautiful, dark-skinned woman, like, that was young. And my Kim has, you love me, cash will make me stay. Made it in the only, and I can leave the same way. Cause if you really want me, you can take my time. No, I see it. Yeah, I got all the words wrong, but you know what song I'm trying to sing, right? But she also had hits like Superstar and Thank You, and became one of the UK's most successful R&B artists of the decade. Thank you for every last bruise you gave me. By the mid-2000s, UK R&B was gaining global recognition. Estelle's American Boy, released in 2008, featured Kanye West, and it won a Grammy Award, proving that UK artists could break into the US market. Jay Sean, who technically is not black, he's Asian, but I feel like for the purposes of this video, come, it's okay, come. Jay Sean's song, Down. Baby, are you down, oh. Even when the sky is falling down. Oh, that's true. Come on. That song came out in 2009 and it became the first UK R&B song to top the US Billboard Hot 100, making him the first British Asian artist to achieve such success. And then I think around this time, R&B in itself started to move into a bit more of a more EDM, electronic pop kind of vibe. So you have artists like Teo Cruz with Break Your Heart and Dynamite, like break your heart. By the 2010s, we saw people like Starboy Nathan who carried the UK R&B torch with songs like Come Into My Room. And then obviously we've got Angel who came through. So by the late 2000s, a new form of UK rap emerged and it was called road rap. If you like. Unlike Grime's fast beats, road rap was slower, darker, and deeply inspired by US hip hop. Key road rap artists include people like Giggs, Blade Brown, Jay Spades, Young's Teflon, and these are people who really pioneered the raw street-focused movement. Online platforms like Grime Daily, Link Up TV, and SBTV really helped road rap to thrive by bypassing the mainstream industry. People like Stormzy, Dave, AJ Tracy, Lil Sims. Stormzy became the face of UK rap with his 2017 album Gang Signs and Prayers, making him the first UK rapper to headline Glastonbury. Dave's Psychodrama, released in 2019, won the Mercury Prize. His iconic black performance at the Brit Awards made headlines. And then of course, the queen of UK rap at the moment, I don't care what nobody says, Miss Lil Sims. Lil Sims emerged as one of the most innovative artists of the era with albums like Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, which dropped in 2021, earning her a global recognition and a Brit Award. Before I get into Afrobeats here, I need to quickly talk about Funky House. Because Funky House was like a short-lived era. I'm talking about like from like 2007, 2008 to like 2012. Funky House was doing absolutely bits, yeah. If you was at uni during those times, you definitely would have raved to Funky House. If you went to Ayanapa, yeah, or any of these places within those times, you definitely raved to Funky House. Talking Cold Steps, I'm talking Crazy Cousins, I'm talking Risco, Gracious K with the migraine skank. Are you alright? I want to see your migraine skank. Listen, there'll be a time, yeah, we'll be in a club, yeah, slowly be walking to your skank partner like this, and then you get to them, now they're face to face, and what do? Boom, 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 go go look at ah man, don't get it twisted. I skank so much, I sweat so much. The days were good. I had to go back quickly before UK Afrobeats because I feel like after UK Funky, it kind of transitioned into UK Afrobeats. And many of the artists that were doing bits like with UK Funky House, they transitioned kind of more into like an Afrobeat sound. So UK Afrobeats tended to blend West African music, specifically West African music like Ghanaian or Nigerian music, with UK rap, grime and R&B, creating this fresh, brand new global sound. Now the UK Afrobeat pioneers, I would say, people like got Fuse ODG, Sonar, Quams and Flavor, Kidda Kuds, Mr. Silver. These were the like original pioneers of Afrobeats back in the day. By the mid 2010s, UK Afrobeats evolved into Afro swing, where you've got artists like Kojo Funds, Notes, Jay Haas, Rams with Barking. DJs like Abranti and DJ Neptuzil helped to push this movement forward. What I would say though is that the Africans came and they took it back. They said, hey, I see what you're doing there. But no, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I tried to be an Afrobeat artist. I am not a rapper. And I cannot speak Yoruba well. I'm also Yoruba, dear. So trying to be a UK Afrobeats rapper is not my bag. But today, artists like NSG, Darko and Afrobeat have blended West African rhythms with UK rap and dancehall, creating chart-topping hits like Options and Joanna. Where are we today? Today we are in a R&B revival. Yeah, revival. Let's see a revival. Afrobeats made it a lot more palatable. It got us kind of ready for this R&B revival for sure. One of the key moments in the revival of R&B, I have to mention like Western. So when Western dropped in 2015, I think that's kind of what gave everyone that R&B craving. It came back. So we see artists like LMA, Georgia Smith and Mahalia who were like really leading this new wave of R&B. And they achieved global success with critically acclaimed projects. For example, LMA's Boo'd Up won a Grammy Award and it topped the US R&B charts, making her one of the most successful UK R&B artists internationally. Georgia Smith's Lost and Found, released in 2018, and Mahalia's Love and Compromise in 2019, that introduced the UK to a new generation with a fresh yet nostalgic sound. Also people like Tiana Major 9 that made waves, she ended up getting signed to Motown. DJs like DJ Ace and DJ Target, to this day, championed the sound nationally, not only on radio but also in real life. Like I know DJ Ace is really good at putting on events. And then meanwhile, we've got new artists like Jack James, Shay Universe, Kadeen Tyrell and Odile, who all brought like fresh energy to the genre, blending neo soul, jazz and Afrobeat influences. And it's not only just the people in front of the mic, it's the people behind the mic. Some of the most amazing producers and production groups come from the UK. People like Ari Pensmith, Sons of Sonics, P2J, like these are all people that are doing bits internationally as well as in the UK and helping put UK talent, UK black artistry on the map. Period. And then we've got some major like American, UK collaborations with Tiana Major 9, Jazz Caris, Mahalia, LMA, Jack James, Odile with Summer Walker. Like the collaborations that are going on between UK R&B and American R&B, it just shows that they show respect, we're getting respect, we're going places, and I'm so here for it. I can't wait to see what is happening. So that wraps up for the evolution of black music in the UK. From the early days of reggae to soul, grime, drill and Afrobeats, we've explored the rich history of black music, a legacy that continues to grow today. What's next? Only time will tell. But trust me, definitely follow me here and all that good stuff if you want to find out. One thing's for sure is that black British music will keep breaking boundaries, inspiring new generations and shaping global soundscapes forever. Thank you for listening. Keep supporting black British artists, and I technically am a black British artist, so make sure you follow me, subscribe and all that good stuff. Peace.